Hey guys, so today I want to do something similar to what I did in the 50/50 video from a few days ago and take a look at what synergies are in the game right now as of version 2.4. We have synergies out now that were not in the game at the start, and I figured if there were any new players that were trying to figure out which synergies may be priority, this could be something useful for them, as well as a nice refresher for veteran players who maybe forgot some of what all these synergies unlock. So hopefully you guys find some use in this, or if nothing else, some entertainment. We're going to go through each synergy, and I'm going to be very brief in telling you what they do and why it's important. Then I'll group them together in a graphic at the end and go over my thinking on each for a little bit. I actually filmed this video already, but it was way too long, so I'm going to try and do this again a little more rapid fire. So first up is Merope, and Merope unlocks persona fusions, I believe 6 in total. Some of the personas she unlocks are quite useful for like actual content, such as Narcissus. Satanta was used, I believe, for the Mara Guild boss one week, as well as Koryu, which is for rank 20 Persona Fusion unlock. So in general, I believe Merope is quite useful, and anything that unlocks core elements of gameplay, I think, are ones you should focus on early. Considering this is a Persona game, doing synergies that unlock Persona fusions is typically going to be pretty good, in my opinion. And next up is Phoebe. So they put the heavy hitters near the top because I believe Phoebe is in a similar grouping with Merope, where Phoebe unlocks drink recipes, allows you to buy extra awesome tea each week, which is pretty useful since awesome tea can be used to craft milk tea, which gives you additional action points. She also gives you drink recipe fusion bonuses later in her synergy, which can help you get more milk tea from normal crafting of it, increasing the bang for your buck of awesome teas each week. So anything that you can buy with in-game currency that gives you energy in any form in a gacha game, I think is useful, and I think could be considered top tier. Next up is Soy. Soy unlocks new cooking recipes. Similar to Phoebe, he has to do with cooking, but Soy is more focused on food recipes rather than drink recipes. So the benefit of Soy's synergy comes in the form of some of the cooking effects he provides as you progress through his synergy. He will allow you to do things like cook higher quality foods, get back ingredients from cooking, which could let you craft extra things with limited resources each week, very similar to Phoebe, as well as potentially producing extra servings of things after cooking it. I do not believe this counts for the milk tea, but I'm not 100% sure. I looked it up online to try and find a concrete answer for you, and I couldn't, but I think it's safest to assume that it does not count for Phoebe's milk tea, and if it does, be pleasantly surprised. Next up is Rin. Rin's kind of a strange one, because she unlocks Chinese food recipes, but she also unlocks additional crafting things at the workbench for you. So she lets you get some mats back after crafting at the workbench, which is useful. Kind of a few random things mixed into the synergy. Maybe they thought they had too many food-related synergies already. Generally, anything that lets you craft new things and potentially get materials back when doing so, I consider pretty good. I put her in the same tier as Soy, maybe a little more useful because the infiltration tools can be useful towards the start of the game when you're crafting lots of lockpicks and things like that. Next up is Okyann, and I believe Okyann is the first synergy that is totally dependent on the person doing it. All she does is unlock outfits for Wonder. She unlocks outfits you can buy at the shops in the Underground Mall, and she also gives Wonder some free outfits. If you care about outfits, this is one that may be higher up on your priority list. As you can see, I've done her to 18, so I do care about the clothes. I like collecting all the clothes in these games. But if you don't care about that, then she's one you may want to push back towards the back of the line. You're going to, at some point, finish all of the synergies because you're going to outpace the rank they can add new ones to the game. Plus, they all give jewels and materials, which are useful. So none of them are a waste, and you're going to do all of them. This is more just which ones should you prioritize first earlier on as you're getting started. Following Okyann is going to be Yui. Yui unlocks gardening stuff. Mainly, she lets you grow plants faster. She lets you unlock additional pots to use in the garden to grow more plants. She can also let you harvest more of the stuff you do plant. To me, this one's not like critically important, but there are some gifts that need to be crafted through gardening. There are some things you can only get through gardening and harvesting the materials you do plant. So from that sense, I do put her in kind of a similar tier to Soy and Rin, but I don't think like the gardening is super mandatory. You can do it without Yui. You just will get additional bonuses if you have leveled Yui up to some degree. But I think if you don't care about the gardening and you don't do it all that much, you can feel free to push Yui towards the back. If you do it a lot, then maybe you push her a little bit closer to the front. Next up is Closer, and Closer is one of 2 units who has a mini game associated with their synergy. Closer unlocks all things batting cages, the batting cage mini game in Yonganjaya, and she's interesting because the batting cage can be used to get coins, and there's a shop associated with the batting cage that you can get materials from. So I do tend to put her in a more useful category just because you can get more premium materials out of it. It's not many, but it is still some. And if you like the batting cages, I suppose that you unlock more levels from doing Closer, so that adds a little bit, another layer of usefulness to her. Palace infiltration things in her synergy are kind of useless in my opinion, because unlike a normal Persona game where you're on a calendar system, so being able to recover and do extra things in Palace is super useful. In this game, in 3 clicks, you can leave the palace and go back to the palace and fully recover your team anyway, so I don't find it very useful. But the batting cage stuff can be useful, especially if you haven't cleared out those shops yet. Now, Moko is one of the more useful ones. She unlocks new part-time jobs and additional stats from those part-time jobs, so I think this one is pretty good because she gives you 3 new jobs total with stat bonuses for the corresponding social stats associated with that job. The only thing I will say is do note, her level 17 unlocks the bookstore, which gives knowledge as its main stat, and Kage made a video on this, but TLDR, you may want to stop Moko at 16 because knowledge is a stat that most people will be getting passively just by going through the days, because you get 7 knowledge points most days when you go to class in the morning. If you've seen that kind of interaction, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the bookstore will replace something else in the daily list of things you can do with the action points, and the less things that give knowledge, the better, because knowledge is by far the easiest stat to obtain. So you may want to hold Moko off at 16, but I don't think it's the end of the world if you do it. It's just like a random thing that can show up that you probably won't want to be doing over other things. So again, I don't think the biggest deal in the world, but if you want to min-max, that's something to keep in mind. Next up is Chord, and Chord is the other synergy that I put with Closer, in the sense that her synergy is all about the band club minigame, and the minigame does have a shop for band club. So I put her kind of right next to Closer in terms of usefulness. If you like the band club minigame, this should actually make it a little bit easier if you're struggling to do the harder levels like I am. And you'll also be able to do new songs and stuff to get more currency to use in the shop for the band minigame. So kind of put her in the same exact situation as Closer, just for a different minigame. So Messa is an interesting one because he actually has like a gameplay mechanic tied to his synergy, especially for a unit like Soy, or any unit that prefers to use ranged gun skills for something useful. Like Soy, when he uses his gun, has a chance to apply a defense down for 3 turns, which can be very useful because it stacks with his other defense downs. You really are using it in his rotation. The problem with Soy has always been that once you run out of ammo, you can't really apply that debuff anymore. But with Messa's synergy, you'll be able to get gun skills fully reloaded after a certain amount of turns. It changes depending on how far your synergy ranking is. It's 2 turns at rank 5, and I believe it's 1 turn at rank 17. So this one is useful in the sense that it actually is tied to like a gameplay mechanic, and if you use Soy a lot, this is one that you may want to focus on because you'll be able to fully unload his clip on turn 1 of a rotation to apply his defense down, and then when it falls off, you'll have his gun fully reloaded to fully unload the clip again. He is another one that I find quite useful. He unlocks new books. His synergy gives you books that allow you to do things like get additional points from doing certain activities. Like say you go to watch a movie and you're supposed to get 10 social points from it. After you read the book, you might get 12 points from doing it. And considering you can read books passively on the train on like random days, I think Keys is another one that's kind of worth doing. Maybe not first. It's definitely not better than some of the ones at the top, but it's still quite useful and can help you a lot in maximizing getting social stats. And then Cherish is next. Cherish is in a similar boat to Okyann for me, where if you care about the Tycoon game mode, this is one that you're going to want to barrel down. If you don't care about Tycoon at all, this is one you could probably push towards the back of the line. And I'm quite excited for Tycoon, which comes in 2.5 for us. So I'm trying to get through Cherish as quickly as possible to get everything unlocked for the Tycoon game mode, because I plan on playing it a lot. But if you have no interest in playing the card game and you don't plan on doing it at all, then maybe this is one you could put at the back of the line, like I said. And then lastly is Lufel. He just kind of unlocks new things for you to craft at the workbench, but Lufel is tied to the story, so you can't level up his synergy even if you wanted to in your free time. So we're going to kind of skip Lufel for the sake of this one. And now I'm going to put an overlay on screen of this kind of synergy grouping overlay that I put together. And we'll start with the what I would do first category, which is Merope and Phoebe. I just believe that what these two provide can be incredibly useful to your gameplay experience, which is why I kind of put them at the top of the list. I think both of them are worthwhile in doing early, if not first. In the next grouping, I have useful stuff. I put Key, Tomoko, and Messa there. Key and Tomoko because they will help you do things to get more social points, and in Tomoko's case, help you get new jobs to do for more yen in-game. And as for Messa, he does provide some kind of core gameplay mechanic, but not to the same level as Merope and Phoebe, in my opinion, because Soy is just one unit, and until the next unit that relies on kind of ranged gun abilities, which I'm not sure if Haru does. Haru might. Messa was on the borderline of the top tier and this tier, in my opinion, just because what he does affect actual gameplay. And the next group is more niche, but still useful. Obviously, I think all of these are useful. Like, none of them are a total waste. And like I said, you're going to end up doing all of them anyway. This is more of just a prioritization, not what's good and what's bad. I think they're all generally good. And in this category, we have Soy, Rin, Closer, Yui, and Chord. In the case of Soy, Rin, and Yui, they are letting you craft more things, craft different things, and craft them faster. They're letting you do an activity quicker and more efficiently than you would be able to otherwise, but the things that they're making more efficient are not necessarily things you have to be doing, or that really change your core gameplay experience in any way, which is why they're kind of in this category. And then Closer and Chord, you can clear out those shops without them, but what they provide makes it easier to do so, which is why they're kind of in this category over the useful stuff category, in my opinion. And then the last category is totally depends on what you like. Okyann may be much higher up on your list than others. Cherish might be much higher up on your list than others. He might be further back on your list than others. It just depends on if you care about clothes for Okyann and Tycoon for Cherish, in my opinion. And do note, like I said, all of these are useful. You want to get the meta jewels for all of them. You're going to outpace the rate at which they can add new synergies to the game, so you're going to end up doing all of these again. This is just a prioritization chart on if I was starting again today, this is the order I would probably focus on doing the synergies. And for me personally, Okyann and Cherish would be in the useful stuff category because I care a lot about Tycoon and I care a lot about the clothes. And I think to me, probably more useful than some of the others. But to you, they could be totally at the back of the line. Yeah, again, hopefully this provided some use to you. Hopefully it helped you figure out what you want to prioritize, or just gave you a nice refresher on what some of the synergies do if you haven't really taken time to go and read through them in a while. But I appreciate you guys watching. As always, I will see you on the next one, and have a good one.